Good morning, Chris here. One of the questions people give me a lot of time is, why is it so challenging to live our spiritual truth? It should be easy, right? We read books, we go to workshops, we study, we go to, groups, maybe we go to church, whatever it is, we devote ourselves to spirituality, and yet we find it so challenging to live our truth. The question is, why is that? And the answer is actually quite simple. It's just rooted in our minds, in our egos. Essentially, our mind wants to stay comfortable. It wants to keep things the way they are. And spirituality seeks to shake that up. It seeks to uproot our lives in unknown ways. And our minds want to know. They want to be in the know. And that's because as children, when we were younger, there was actually great value to this. See, when we were a child, there were real threats to our emotional or even physical well-being. And so what happened is we needed to find ways to cope with that. Living in the present moment was not safe as a child for whatever reason. Even if we had a great childhood, even if we had fantastic parents, there are still things they said and did that made us not feel like it was safe, at least emotionally, to be in the present moment. It's a natural consequence of consequences, actually, because children want to be free. We want to have our light shine, our abundance out there. We would just want to have fun in life as children. And so what happens is when that gets clamped down for any number of reasons, maybe we're just having fun playing and we want to run across the street and our parents grab and shout and say, "No, stop!" And they pull us, right here, I'm walking next to the cars, right? Well, a child doing this, the parent would pull them back probably in deep fear. And then what the child hears is, it's not safe. I am not safe in this present moment to be me. And what happens is we get enough of those impressions over life, even from well-intentioned parents, and it's even deeper if we have to deal with actual, physical and emotional abuse, that as we become older, we actually lack the ability to be as present and alive as we can in the moment. And this ultimately makes the ego, this is what makes the ego feel safe, is it learns this is how I am safe, by not being in the present moment. So what happens is as we go throughout our days, we're living, and we start reading spiritual books. We start really taking in a teaching, and we love it, and it's juicy, and it's yummy. And as we do that, we realize that it's not an option to go back to the way we were, and yet we don't know how to live a spiritual life fully. We go through the day where we started our day with a reading or a meditation, and then somewhere in the day we start reacting and we forget our spiritual path. The ego wants to take us back to that which is familiar. It does not want us to live here and now. That's why if we really want to take our spiritual teaching forward in our lives, in ways that work, we need reminders, we need support, we need people, we need an environment that actually makes that possible. Now, that's easier said than done, right? It's easier to say that than to walk into work and be around judgmental people who don't get it, who just have their own issues and project them onto us. It's easier said than done when we have, like I said, possibly an abusive family. It's easier said than done when we marry into a family that is negative or abusive. It's easier said than done when there's a hobby that we love and the people around us just don't seem to get it. At least that's how it feels to us, right? So I'm not saying that it's magically easy. In fact, it's not. Living a spiritual life is one of the most challenging tasks, adventures, challenges, life experiences any of us can ever have. So what do we do in those situations when we are pulled back by ego, pulled back by environment, pulled back by other people? We have to return to the present moment, okay? And there's a few ways that I personally do that. One is by sensing my body, sensing my arms and legs, listening to my environment, observing what I can. The reason why is because the mind wants to keep us in the head. It wants to keep us just observing, basically through the eyes more or less, to stay on alert for things that are important to our survival. So when we land in the body, that forces us to be in the present moment, okay? That forces us to be here right now. And that's where spiritual growth really happens. We don't develop spiritually in the past. We don't meditate in the future. It all happens right here, right now. So whenever I'm feeling pulled out of my spirituality, the first thing I want to try and do is return to my sensations in my hands, my feet, my breath, things like that. Now, again, that's easier said than done because now we have to remember something else on our spiritual path. It's something to do when we are trying to remember our spiritual path. It can get confusing. It can get frustrating. So I love to have reminders in my environment, Post-it notes, just a little note that says, hey, breathe. A little, I have a calendar reminder that says, meditate today, right? Things like that just come up periodically throughout the day in my environment. That I see in different places. My coffee cups all have, positive messages on them that, and things like that, so that when I'm drinking, I'm remembering, oh yeah, take a breath, be present, be here now. So, anyway, that's just kind of a little bit of a take on some of the reasons why it can be challenging to live our spiritual path and to really figure out what it means to be, I'd say, a real human being. Because as long as we are going along with the whims of the ego, as long as we are just believing the lies that our mind tells us, honestly, we're not living a real life. We're not living an authentic life. That's what I mean by real. We are running the programs of our past. And if you're watching this video, if you are familiar with anything that I've ever shared before, you know that running the old stories of our past does not serve us, right? We're here to live the adventure of life. The aliveness within us really comes out when we're in the present moment. And that's so threatening to the ego. The ego just wants us to not be in the present moment. It really wants to stay in the past, using its old, outdated, ineffective defensive techniques to keep us from being alive. Because to our egos, alive actually feels like death because of all the threats we had in our childhood. Anyway, I hope you're having a fantastic day and I hope this helped you. Take care. I love you.